The stars looked different this far from home. Captain Lee Min-ho stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Resilience, watching the alien constellations through the main view screen. 3 months had passed since they left the last human outpost, and now they were deeper in space than any human had ever gone before. "Captain, we're picking up something strange on the long-range sensors," said Communications Officer Han Ji-woo from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel, trying to make sense of the readings. Min-ho walked over to look at her screen. The display showed dozens of bright dots moving in formation. They were still far away, but they were definitely artificial. "Objects. Ships. How many?" Min-ho asked. "At least 50, sir. Maybe more." "They're too far to get an exact count," Ji-woo replied. Her voice carried a hint of worry. Navigator Kim Tae-ho looked up from his station. "Captain, those ships are not using any technology we recognize. Their energy signatures are completely different from anything in our databases." Min-ho felt his stomach tighten. First contact with an alien species was always dangerous. Earth's history was full of stories about what happened when two different civilizations met for the first time. Sometimes it went well. Often it did not. "Wake up the entire crew," Min-ho ordered. "All departments to battle stations, and get me a direct line to Earth Command." Engineer Park Soo-jin rushed onto the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. "Captain, what's the situation?" "Unknown alien fleet ahead. I need you to make sure all our systems are running perfectly. If things go bad, we might need every advantage we can get." Soo-jin nodded and immediately went to the engineering station. Her hands flew over the controls as she checked the ship's condition. The Resilience was a good ship, but it was built for exploration, not war. It had some weapons, but nothing, like what a military vessel would carry. Dr. Choi Yena entered the bridge next, followed by Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun. The security chief's face was serious as he listened to Min-ho explain the situation. "How long until they reach us?" Do-hyun asked. Tae-ho checked his calculations. "At their current speed, about 6 hours. But, Captain, they're changing course. They're heading directly for us now." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The aliens had detected them, too. "Ji-woo, any response from Earth Command?" Min-ho asked. "Still trying to reach them, sir. We're at the very edge of our communication range. It's going to take time for the signal to get through." Min-ho made a decision that would change everything. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we've made contact with an unknown alien species. Give them our exact position and all the data we have on the alien ships. Make sure they understand this is a first contact situation." As Ji-woo worked to prepare the message, the alien ships continued to approach. The crew of the Resilience had trained for this moment, but training was different from reality. 60 human lives depended on the decisions made in the next few hours. "Captain," Soo-jin called out, "I'm reading massive energy buildups from the alien ships. Whatever weapons they have, they're much more powerful than ours." Min-ho clenched his fists. "Can we outrun them?" Tae-ho shook his head. "Not a chance. They're faster than us by at least 30%. "Then we talk to them," Min-ho decided. "Ji-woo, open all communication channels. Try every frequency we have. Use the universal mathematical sequences that Earth developed for first contact." For the next hour, Ji-woo tried everything she could think of. She broadcast mathematical formulas, prime numbers, and simple images. The alien ships continued to approach, but they did not respond to any communication attempts. "Captain," Dr. Yenna said quietly, "maybe they don't want to talk." Before Minho could respond, the main view screen lit up with dozens of bright flashes. The alien ships had opened fire. "Evasive maneuvers!" Minho shouted. Taeho's hands moved over his controls, sending the Resilience into a sharp turn. The ship shuddered as alien weapons passed close by. Energy beams that could cut through steel missed them by mere meters. "Return fire," Minho ordered. Do-hyun activated the ship's weapons. The Resilience fired back with everything it had, but their weapons barely scratched the alien ship's shields. The difference in technology was overwhelming. An alien energy beam struck the ship's port side. The lights flickered, and alarms began sounding throughout the vessel. Sujin's station erupted in sparks. "Engineering to bridge," came a voice over the intercom. "We've lost main engine power. I'm trying to switch to backup systems." Another hit rocked the ship. This time, the aliens had targeted the communications array. Jiwoo's station went dark. "Communications are down," she reported. "I can't reach Earth." The battle continued for 20 more minutes. The Resilience took hit after hit, while their own weapons had almost no effect on the alien ships. Minho knew they could not win this fight. "All stop," he ordered. "Shut down weapons, sir," Do-hyun asked, confused. "We surrender. It's our only chance." The firing stopped. The alien ships surrounded the damaged Resilience, but they did not destroy it. Instead, they seemed to be studying the human vessel. "Captain," Sujin said, her voice shaking, "the engines are completely destroyed. We're not going anywhere." Minho felt the weight of command pressing down on him. His ship was crippled, his crew was trapped, and they were surrounded by hostile aliens in the deepest part of space. But he was still their captain, and he would not give up. "Damage report," he said calmly. "Main engines offline. Communication array destroyed. Weapons at 50%. Life support is holding, but we're running on emergency power," Sujin reported. "Can you fix the engines?" "Not with what we have. I would need parts and equipment that we don't carry on. An exploration ship." Minho walked to the center of the bridge and looked at each of his officers. These were good people who had volunteered to explore the unknown regions of space. They trusted him to bring them home safely. Now they were stranded in hostile territory with no way to call for help. "Jiwoo, can you repair the communication system?" "The main array is completely destroyed, sir. But I might be able to rig something using the emergency transmitters. It won't be strong enough to reach Earth from here, but it might work for short range." "Communications. Do it. Everyone else, start working on repairs. We need to get this ship moving again." For the next several hours, the crew worked desperately to fix their damaged vessel. The alien ships maintained their distance, but did not leave. They seemed to be waiting for something. Finally, Ji-woo managed to restore basic communications. The first thing she did was try to contact Earth Command. After a long wait, a response came through the static. "Resilience. This is Earth Command. We received your first contact report. What is your current status?" Minho took the communicator. with shaking hands. Earth Command, this is Captain Lee Min-ho. We are heavily damaged and surrounded by hostile alien forces. We need immediate assistance. The response that came back changed everything. Negative resilience. Command has reviewed the situation. Your position is too far from human space to mount a rescue operation. You are ordered to use any means necessary to gather intelligence on the alien forces, then destroy your ship to prevent technology from falling into enemy hands. Earth Command out. The bridge fell silent. Min-ho stared at the communicator in disbelief. Earth was abandoning them. Sir? Ji-woo asked quietly. Min-ho set down the communicator and looked at his crew. They were no longer explorers representing Earth. They were survivors, alone in the dark. The silence on the bridge lasted for a full minute. Every crew member stared at Captain Lee Min-ho, waiting for his response to Earth's abandonment. Outside the view screen, the alien ships continued their silent watch, like predators waiting for wounded prey to die. Min-ho slowly placed the communicator back on its stand. When he spoke, his voice was steady and calm. Well, it looks like we're on our own. Engineer Park Soo-jin was the first to break the shocked silence. Captain, they can't just leave us here. We're 60 people, 60 human lives. They already have, Min-ho replied. And frankly, I'm not surprised. We're too far from human space. A rescue mission would cost billions and risk an entire fleet. From their perspective, we're acceptable. Losses. Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun stepped forward. What are your orders, sir? Min-ho looked around the bridge at his officers. These people had followed him into the unknown, trusting him to lead them safely. Now that trust was all they had left. We survive, he said simply. Earth may have written us off, but we're not dead yet. Soo-jin, what's our situation? The engineer pulled up a damage report on her screen. Main engines are completely destroyed. The alien weapons melted the primary drive core. I can get us basic maneuvering power using the backup thrusters, but we're not going anywhere fast. Life support? Running on emergency power. We have maybe 48 hours before we start having serious problems. The good news is that the hull is intact. No major breaches. Navigator Kim Tae-ho raised his hand. Captain, I've been studying the alien ships. They're not attacking us anymore, but they're also not leaving. It's like they're waiting for something. Maybe they're waiting for us to die, suggested Dr. Choi Ye-na grimly. Communications Officer Han Ji-woo looked up from her repairs. Sir, I managed to intercept some of their transmissions. I can't understand the language, but I'm recording everything. Maybe we can figure out what they're planning. Min-ho nodded. Good work. Keep listening. Tae-ho, I need you to find us a place to hide. Somewhere we can make repairs without being sitting ducks. There's an asteroid field about 6 million kilometers from here, Tae-ho said, checking his navigation charts. Dense enough to hide in, but not so dense that we can't maneuver. Can we make it there with just the backup thrusters? It'll take us about 18 hours, but yes. The question is whether the aliens will let us go. Min-ho made his decision. We're going to find out. Soo-jin, give us everything the backup engines have. Tae-ho! Plot a course for that asteroid field. Do-hyun, keep our weapons ready. Ji-woo, monitor the alien communications. The Resilience slowly began to move, limping toward the distant asteroid field on backup power. The alien ships immediately reacted, moving to follow them. But something strange happened. Instead of attacking, they simply maintained their distance. "They're hurting us," Do-hyun observed. "Like we're cattle being driven to slaughter." "Maybe," Minho said. "Or maybe they want to see what we'll do. Either way, we keep moving." The journey to the asteroid field took 19 hours. During that time, the crew worked frantically to repair what they could. Dr. Yena treated the injured crew members. There were 12 people with burns from electrical fires and 6 with broken bones from when the ship was thrown around during the battle. "Captain," Yena reported, "everyone will live, but we need proper medical supplies. Our emergency kit won't last long if we have more injuries." Soo-jin spent the entire journey crawling through damaged systems, trying to restore basic functions. "I've got partial sensors back online," she announced, "and I think I can rig something to give us better power distribution." Meanwhile, Ji-woo continued listening to the alien transmissions. She filled notebook after notebook with symbols and sounds, trying to find patterns in their language. "They call themselves something that sounds like hegemony," she told Minho. "And they keep using a word that might mean vermin when they talk about us." "Friendly bunch," Do-hyun muttered. When they finally reached the asteroid field, Tae-ho guided the ship deep into the maze of floating rocks. The larger asteroids provided cover from the alien sensors, and the Resilience disappeared into the shadows between the massive stones. "Lost them," Tae-ho reported with satisfaction. "They're still out there, but they can't see us anymore." Minho allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Now we can work without being watched. Soo-jin, what do you need to fix the engines?" "That's the problem, Captain. The engine core isn't just damaged, it's completely destroyed. To fix it, I would need replacement. Parts that simply don't exist out here. The closest human facility with those parts is 6 months away. And that's if we had working engines." The bridge fell quiet again. Without engines, they were trapped in this asteroid field forever. "What about the alien ships?" Do-hyun asked. "Could we salvage parts from them?" "Maybe," Soo-jin said thoughtfully. "But we'd have to capture one first, and their technology is way ahead of ours. I'm not even sure I could understand how their engines work." Dr. Yena had been quiet during this discussion, but now she spoke up. "Captain, I've been thinking about our situation. We have food for about 3 months, water for 2 months, and that's if we're careful with our supplies." "What are you suggesting?" Minho asked. "I'm suggesting that hiding in this asteroid field isn't a long-term solution. Eventually, we're going to have to do something active to survive." Minho understood what she meant. They couldn't just wait to be rescued, because no rescue was coming. They had to take control of their own fate. "Ji-woo, how much have you learned about the alien language?" "I'm starting to recognize some basic concepts. Numbers, directions, simple commands. But it's going to take time to understand anything complex." "We may not have time," Minho said. "Soo-jin, I want you to study everything we recorded about their ships during the battle. Find their weaknesses. Taeho, map this entire asteroid field. I want to know every hiding spot and escape route. Do-hyun, start training the crew for combat. Operations. Sir? Do-hyun asked. We're not explorers anymore, Minho explained. We're survivors. And if these aliens think we're just going to lie down and die, they're about to learn something about humans. Over the next few days, the crew of the Resilience began to change. The scientists and explorers who had left Earth 3 months ago were becoming something harder and more dangerous. They had to, because the alternative was death. Soo-jin discovered that one of the smaller asteroids was hollow, carved out by some ancient cosmic impact. We could set up a temporary base inside, she suggested. Move some of our equipment there. If something happens to the ship, we'd still have a place to live. Dr. Ye-na found ice deposits on several asteroids that could provide water. It's not much, but it could extend our supplies. Meanwhile, Ji-woo made a breakthrough with the alien language. Captain, I think I understand what they're doing out there. They're not just patrolling. They're preparing for something big, a major operation. What kind of operation? I'm not certain, but I keep hearing references to human space, and the word they use for attack. Minho felt cold fear in his stomach. They're planning to invade human territory. That's what it sounds like. Minho stared out at the asteroid field where his ship was hidden. Earth had abandoned them, left them to die in this remote corner of space. But now it seemed that Earth itself was in danger, and only the crew of the Resilience knew about it. The question was, what could 60 abandoned humans do against an alien empire? 2 weeks had passed since the crew of the Resilience made their home in the asteroid field. The hollow asteroid that engineer Park Soo-jin had discovered was now buzzing with activity. The crew had moved essential equipment from the ship to their new base, creating a hidden facility that the alien ships could not detect. Captain Lee Min-ho stood in the main chamber of their asteroid base, watching his people work. They looked different now. The clean uniforms and polished appearance of Earth explorers had been replaced by practical work clothes and determined faces. These were no longer the same people who had left Earth 4 months ago. Captain. Communications. Officer Han Ji-woo called out from her makeshift station. I've got something important. Minho walked over to where Ji-woo sat surrounded by screens and recording equipment. She had been working around the clock to understand the alien language, and her efforts were finally paying off. I've been listening to their communications for 2 weeks now, she explained, and I think I understand their basic structure. They call themselves the hegemony, and they rule over dozens of different species across this part of the galaxy. What about their plans for human space? Minho asked. Ji-woo's face was grim. It's worse than we thought. They're not just planning an attack. They're planning complete conquest. From what I can understand, they see humans as a primitive species that needs to be enslaved or eliminated. Dr. Choi Ye-na looked up from her biological samples. Have you learned anything about their weaknesses? Actually, yes, Ji-woo said with excitement. They communicate using a specific frequency range. But here's the interesting part. They seem to have trouble with the electromagnetic frequencies that our equipment naturally produces. I've noticed their communications get fuzzy whenever they get close to our ship. Engineer Su Jin joined the conversation. That makes sense. Human technology evolved differently from theirs. What's normal for us might be disruptive to their systems. Minho felt a spark of hope. Could we use that against them? Maybe, Su Jin said thoughtfully. But I'd need to study their technology more closely, and that means getting my hands on one of their ships. Navigator Kim Tae-ho had been quietly mapping the asteroid field for days. Now he spoke up from his position near the navigation charts. Captain, I've been tracking their patrol patterns. They send single ships through this area every 3 days. Always the same route. Always alone. Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun immediately understood what Tai-ho was suggesting. We could ambush one of those patrol ships. It's risky, Minho said. If we fail, they'll know we're here. With respect, sir, Do-hyun replied. They already know we're here somewhere. And if Ji-woo is right about their invasion plans, hiding forever isn't going to help anyone. Minho looked around at his officers. He could see the determination in their eyes. They were ready to fight back. Su-jin, what would you need from an alien ship? Power systems, weapons technology, communication equipment. Even small pieces would help me understand how their technology works. Do-hyun, could we capture a patrol ship without destroying it? The security chief nodded. We'd have to be smart about it. Use the asteroids for cover, disable their engines first, then board them before they can send a distress signal. And if there are survivors? Dr. Yena stepped forward. I could study them, learn about their biology, maybe find weaknesses we could use. Minho made his decision. We do it, but we do it carefully. I want plans for every possible situation. If anything goes wrong, we abort and disappear back into the asteroids. For the next 2 days, the crew prepared for their first active mission against the hegemony. Do-hyun organized combat teams and weapons checks. Tae-ho plotted attack vectors and escape routes. Su-jin prepared equipment for quickly analyzing alien technology. Ji-woo worked on a crucial piece of the plan. If we can jam their communications at the right moment, they won't be able to call for help, she explained. I think I can modify our communication array to broadcast on their frequencies. The patrol ship arrived exactly on schedule. It was smaller than the ships that had first attacked them, but it was still larger and more advanced than the Resilience. The alien vessel moved slowly through the asteroid field, its sensors scanning for any sign of the human ship. Target acquired, Tae-ho whispered into his communicator. The crew was spread across 3 different asteroids, each team in position for the ambush. Remember, Minho's voice came through the comm system. We need that ship intact. No unnecessary damage. The alien patrol ship passed between 2 large asteroids, following the same route it had taken for weeks. It had no idea that human weapons were aimed at it from multiple directions. Ji-woo, jam their communications. Now, Minho ordered. The alien ship's communication array suddenly went dark as Ji-woo's jamming signal overwhelmed their systems. The Patrol ship immediately began to turn, trying to escape the asteroid field. Sujin, disable their engines, Minho commanded. The engineer had rigged several of the ship's emergency charges to work as electromagnetic pulse weapons. When they detonated near the alien ship, the electromagnetic energy disrupted their power systems. The patrol ship went dark and began drifting helplessly between the asteroids. "Boarding teams, go," Do-hyun ordered. 3 small shuttles launched from hidden positions in the asteroids. The crew had spent days modifying the shuttles for this mission, adding cutting tools and portable airlocks. The boarding operation took less than 10 minutes. The alien crew of 12 was caught completely by surprise. They had never expected to be attacked by the primitive humans they thought they were hunting. Do-hyun and his security team secured the alien prisoners while Sujin rushed to examine their technology. Dr. Yena immediately began studying the alien crew members, taking biological samples and measurements. "Incredible," Sujin breathed as she looked at the alien ship's systems. "Their technology is advanced, but it's not impossible to understand. And Ji-woo was right. They're vulnerable to our electromagnetic frequencies." Dr. Yena made an even more important discovery. "Captain, these aliens are not as tough as they seem. Their biology is actually quite fragile. They're sensitive to temperature changes and their nervous systems can't handle high-frequency sounds." "What kind of high-frequency sounds?" Minho asked. "The kind our weapons naturally produce when they fire." Ji-woo had found the ship's computer system and was downloading everything she could. "Captain, this is a treasure trove of information. Star charts, communication codes, military protocols. We now know where their main bases are located." "How many bases?" Minho asked. "Dozens. But there's something else. According to these files, they're holding prisoners from at least 6 different species, enslaved populations on conquered worlds." Taeho studied the star charts that Ji-woo had found. "Captain, look at this. They have a supply depot only 2 days away from here, lightly defended, used for refueling patrol ships." Minho looked at the information his crew had gathered. In one successful operation, they had learned more about their enemy than Earth's entire intelligence service knew. But more importantly, they had discovered that the hegemony was not invincible. "We're not going back to hiding," he announced. "We're going to hit that supply depot." "Sir?" Do-hyun asked. "Think about it. Every ship we destroy is one less ship they can use against Earth. Every base we hit weakens their invasion force. We may only be 60 people, but we're 60 people who know their weaknesses." Sujin looked excited. "Captain, with their technology, I could improve our weapons and shields, make the resilience much more powerful." "Do it," Minho ordered, "and prepare for a long campaign. We're going to teach the hegemony something about humans they never expected to learn." Dr. Yena had been examining the alien prisoners. "Captain, there's something else. These aliens aren't evil conquerors. They're scared. They talk about their own masters, higher-ranking species in the hegemony. It sounds like they're as much slaves as the species they've conquered." This information changed everything. The hegemony wasn't just an alien empire. It was a system of oppression that enslaved entire species, including many of its own members. "Then we're not just fighting for Earth, Minho realized. We're fighting for every enslaved species in this part of the galaxy. The crew of the Resilience had found their new mission. They were no longer just survivors trying to stay alive. They were the beginning of a resistance movement that could free entire worlds from the hegemony's control. The captured hegemony supply depot was now a twisted pile of metal floating in space. Captain Lee Minho watched the destruction through the view screen of the Resilience, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and worry. The attack had been a complete success, but it would not go unnoticed. "That's the third depot we've hit this month," Navigator Kim Tae-ho said from his station. "They're going to start sending larger patrols." Engineer Park Soo-jin looked up from her work at the engineering console. "Let them come. The upgrades we've made to the ship can handle anything they've sent so far." She was right. Over the past 6 weeks, Soo-jin had transformed the Resilience using captured hegemony technology. The ship now had alien weapons, stronger shields, and engines that were twice as powerful as the original Earth design. It barely looked like the same vessel that had been crippled in that first battle. "Captain," Communications Officer Han Ji-woo called out from her station, "I'm intercepting heavy hegemony communications. They're calling in their Hunter fleet." "Hunter fleet?" Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun asked. "Elite ships designed to track down threats like us," Ji-woo explained. "From what I can understand, they've never had to use them before. We're the first resistance they've faced in over 50 years. Dr. Choi Ye-na looked up from her research station. "That might explain what I found in the biological samples. The hegemony has been using genetic modification to make their slave species more obedient. But the process only works on species that have been conquered for generations." "What does that mean for us?" Minho asked. "It means humans are completely immune to their control methods. Our biology is too different, and we haven't been exposed to their conditioning programs." Minho nodded thoughtfully. This explained why the hegemony seemed so confused by human resistance. They were used to species that gave up quickly or could be controlled through biological manipulation. "Captain," Tae-ho said suddenly, "I'm detecting a massive energy signature. Something big is coming out of hyperspace." The main view screen showed empty space for a moment. Then reality seemed to twist and bend. A ship emerged from hyperspace that was larger than anything the crew had seen before. It was easily 10 times the size of the Resilience and bristled with weapons. "That's a hegemony battleship," Ji-woo said with fear in her voice. "According to the captured files, ships like that can destroy entire planets." More ships began appearing around the battleship. Smaller vessels, but still much larger and more powerful than anything the humans had faced before. Within minutes, they were surrounded by the most dangerous fleet in known space. "We're receiving a transmission," Ji-woo announced. "Put it through," Minho ordered. The view screen filled with the image of an alien unlike any they had seen before. It was tall and thin, with silver skin and multiple eyes. When it spoke, Ji-woo translated in real time. "Primitive humans, you have been marked for termination. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Continue to resist, and we will make your species extinct." The communication ended. The alien fleet began moving into attack formation. "Options?" Minho asked his crew. "We could try to run," Tae-ho suggested. But they're faster than us. We could fight, Do-hyun said. But against those odds, Soo-jin was studying her sensor readings. Captain, I'm detecting something strange about that battleship. It's not just a warship. It's carrying something in its cargo bay, something that's generating a very specific type of energy. What kind of energy? Dr. Yena asked. Biological. Like it's designed to interact with living tissue. Ji-woo suddenly went pale. Captain, I just decoded more of their transmission. They're not just here to destroy us. They're carrying a weapon designed specifically to kill humans. Some kind of virus or poison that targets human DNA. The bridge fell silent. The crew now understood why this fleet was so important to the hegemony. They weren't just trying to stop a small resistance group. They were field testing a weapon of mass destruction designed to wipe out the entire human race. We can't let that weapon reach Earth, Minho said quietly. Sir, Do-hyun said, even if we could somehow destroy that battleship, we'd never survive. The battle. Minho looked around at his crew. These people had followed him through months of impossible situations. They had survived abandonment, learned to fight an alien empire, and discovered technology that could change the course of the war. Now, they faced their greatest test. Ji-woo, can you send a message to Earth? At this distance? Maybe. But it would take weeks to reach them. Do it. Tell them about the weapon. Give them everything we've learned about hegemony weaknesses. Make sure they understand that this is bigger than just one battleship. Captain, Soo-jin interrupted, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I'm listening. The biological weapon they're carrying. It's designed to spread through the atmosphere of a planet, right? But what if we could turn it against them instead? Dr. Yena understood immediately. You want to modify the weapon to target hegemony biology instead of human biology. Exactly. We know their weaknesses. We know they're vulnerable to our electromagnetic frequencies. And Dr. Yena has been studying their biology for weeks. It would be incredibly dangerous, Yena warned. If we make a mistake, we could kill ourselves instead. What choice do we have? Minho asked. If that weapon reaches Earth, billions of people will die. The alien fleet was moving closer, but they seemed to be in no hurry. They probably thought the humans were helpless. How long would you need to modify the weapon? Minho asked. If we could get aboard that battleship? Maybe an hour, Yena said. But getting there would be suicide. Do-hyun stepped forward. Not necessarily. We still have one captured hegemony ship. If we could get close enough... A boarding action, Minho realized. Get a small team onto that battleship, modify the weapon, then get out before they know what happened. The timing would have to be perfect, Taeho said, and we'd need a major distraction to keep their attention. Soo-jin smiled grimly. Leave that to me. I can rig our engines to explode, make it look like we're making a desperate attack on their flagship. You'd be destroying our ship, Minho pointed out. The ship doesn't matter anymore. What matters is stopping that weapon. Minho made the hardest decision of his command. Do it. Soo-jin, prepare the ship for one final attack. Do-hyun, pick your best people for the boarding team. Dr. Yena, get ready to work some biological magic. Ji-woo, make sure that message to Earth gets sent. The next hour was a frenzy of preparation. The crew worked with desperate efficiency, knowing that the fate of humanity depended on their success. Some crew members would stay with the ship to make the distraction convincing. Others would attempt the boarding mission. "Captain," Do-hyun said as he prepared his boarding team, "what if we don't make it back?" Minyo looked at his security chief, a man who had become like a brother over these past months of struggle. "Then Earth will know what we tried to do, and maybe that will be enough." The captured hegemony ship launched from the Resilience just as the human vessel began its final attack run. To the aliens, it looked like a desperate escape attempt. They had no idea that their deadliest enemies were now heading straight for their most powerful weapon. The battle for the future of humanity was about to begin, and 60 abandoned humans were Earth's only hope. The explosion of the Resilience lit up space like a dying star. Captain Lee Min-ho watched his ship die through the view screen of the stolen hegemony vessel, feeling like he was watching part of his soul burn away. But the sacrifice was working. Every alien ship in the fleet was focused on the destruction, giving his boarding team the distraction they needed. "Boarding team is away," Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun reported through the comm system. He was leading 12 crew members toward the massive hegemony battleship while it was distracted by the explosion. "Good luck," Min-ho whispered, though he knew Do-hyun could not hear him. Engineer Park Soo-jin was piloting the captured alien ship with skill that surprised even herself. The past months of studying hegemony technology had taught her how their ships worked. More importantly, she understood their weaknesses. "The battleship's shields are down in the rear section," she reported. "They never expected an attack from one of their own ships." Dr. Choi Yena was preparing her equipment for the most important work of her life. She had to modify a biological weapon designed to kill humans so that it would kill the aliens instead. One mistake could mean death for everyone aboard the ship. "How much time do you need once we're inside?" Min-ho asked her. 30 minutes minimum, maybe longer if their systems are protected." "You'll have the time," Do-hyun's voice came through the comm. "We're docking now." The boarding team attached their ship to the battleship's hull and began cutting through the metal. The aliens inside had no idea what was happening. Their attention was still focused on the wreckage of the human ship floating in space. "We're inside," Do-hyun reported, moving toward the weapon storage area. Navigation specialist Kim Tae-ho was monitoring the alien fleet from his position. "Captain, they're starting to spread out, looking for survivors from the Resilience. We don't have much time before they realize what we're doing." The boarding team moved through the corridors of the alien battleship like ghosts. Do-hyun had trained them well in close combat, and the aliens were not expecting intruders. The few guards they encountered were quickly and quietly eliminated. "Found the weapon storage," Do-hyun whispered into his comm. "Dr. Yena, you're going to want to see this." Yena followed the boarding team through the ship's corridors. When she reached the weapon storage area, she gasped at what she saw. The biological weapon was not a simple virus or poison. It was a complex system designed to rewrite human DNA, turning people into controllable slaves. "This is worse than we thought," she told Min-ho through the comm. "This weapon doesn't just kill humans, it would turn them into another slave species for the hegemony." Can you modify it? Minho asked. Yes, but I need to understand how it works first. Yenna began, studying the alien technology with desperate speed. Every minute they spent on the battleship increased the chance of discovery. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Han Ji-woo was working frantically at her station. Captain, I'm trying to hack into their communication system. If I can access their fleet coordination, I might be able to cause some chaos. Do it, Minho ordered. Su-jin was monitoring the ship's systems when she noticed something strange. Captain, this battleship isn't just carrying the biological weapon. It's also carrying prisoners. What kind of prisoners? Different species. Dozens of them. It looks like they're being used as test subjects for the weapon. Minho felt anger burning in his chest. The hegemony was not just planning to enslave humanity. They were using other species as guinea pigs to perfect their weapon. Do-hyun, can your team reach the prison area? Already on it, Captain. We're freeing everyone we can find. The rescued prisoners were unlike anything the humans had seen before. There were tall, blue-skinned humanoids with 4 arms, small, furry creatures that looked almost like earth animals, rock-like beings that seemed to be made of living stone. All of them had been captured by the hegemony and used for horrible experiments. They're terrified, reported one of Do-hyun's team members. Most of them don't even understand that we're trying to help them. Dr. Yena made a breakthrough with the biological weapon. I think I understand how it works now. The weapon targets specific genetic markers. If I can reverse the targeting system... Her fingers flew over the alien controls, rewriting the weapon's programming. Instead of targeting human DNA, it would now target the genetic markers common to hegemony species. Almost finished, she reported. Just a few more minutes. That was when the alarms started sounding throughout the battleship. They've discovered us, Do-hyun said grimly. Heavy security forces are moving toward our position. How long can you hold them off? Minho asked. Not long. These aliens have better weapons and more numbers. Ji-woo suddenly shouted with excitement. Captain, I'm in their communication system. I can send false orders to their fleet. Do it. Cause as much confusion as possible. Within seconds, the alien fleet began receiving contradictory orders. Some ships were told to attack others. Some were ordered to retreat. The careful coordination of the hunter fleet fell apart as commanders tried to figure out what was happening. Weapon modification complete, Dr. Yena announced. The biological weapon will now target hegemony DNA instead of human DNA. Outstanding. Now we need to get out of here. But escape was not going to be easy. The aliens had figured out where the intruders were, and heavy security forces were closing in on the boarding team's position. Captain, Do-hyun said, we're surrounded. I don't think we can fight our way back to the ship. Minho made another impossible decision. Then don't. Activate the weapon where you are. Let it spread through their ship's atmosphere. Sir, that means we'll be trapped here when it activates. Dr. Yena, how long before the weapon takes effect? On hegemony biology, maybe 10 minutes. And on humans? It shouldn't affect us at all. I modified it specifically to avoid human genetic markers. Should? Captain, I'm 90% certain, but I can't guarantee it will be completely safe for us. Do-hyun's voice came through the comm, steady and calm. Orders, Captain? Minho looked around at the crew members still with him. Su-Jin was at the pilot controls. Tai-Ho was monitoring the alien fleet. Ji-Woo was working to maintain control of their communications. These people had followed him through months of impossible situations. They trusted him completely. Activate the weapon, he ordered. Dr. Yena triggered the biological weapons release system. Throughout the battleship, invisible death began spreading through the air circulation system. The aliens who had created a weapon to enslave humanity were about to become victims of their own creation. Weapon is active, Yena reported. Now we wait and see if my modifications worked. The boarding team continued fighting the alien security forces, but now they had hope. If the weapon worked as planned, the aliens would begin dying within minutes. Captain, Tai-Ho said urgently, the other ships in the fleet are moving toward the battleship. They must have realized something is wrong. Ji-Woo, can you stop them? I'm trying, but they're starting to ignore the false orders. They know their communications system has been compromised. The next few minutes would determine the fate of humanity. Either Dr. Yena's modifications had worked, and the biological weapon would destroy the hegemony forces, or it would kill the human boarding team instead. Either way, the abandoned crew of the Resilience had struck a blow against the alien empire that would never be forgotten. The first alien security guard collapsed exactly 8 minutes after Dr. Choi Yena had activated the modified biological weapon. Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun watched the creature fall to the deck, its silver skin turning dark as the weapon attacked its genetic structure. It's working, Do-hyun reported through his communicator. The aliens are starting to drop. Within minutes, the corridors of the battleship were filled with dead hegemony soldiers. The biological weapon spread through the ship's air system like invisible death, killing every alien it touched. But the human boarding team remained completely unharmed. Dr. Yena, you did it, Captain Lee Minho said with relief in his voice. The weapon is only targeting hegemony biology. The rescued prisoners were also unaffected by the weapon. The tall blue creatures, the small furry beings, and the rock-like entities watched in amazement as their captors died around them while they remained safe. Captain? Communications Officer Han Ji-Woo called out from the captured hegemony ship. The other ships in the fleet are trying to dock with the battleship. They think there's been some kind of accident. Let them come, Minho replied. The weapon will spread to their ships too. As alien rescue teams boarded the battleship, they walked directly into the modified biological weapon. Ship after ship in the Hunter fleet became infected. The invisible death spread from vessel to vessel as the aliens tried to help their dying comrades. Engineer Park Soo-Jin was monitoring the fleet's status from her position. Captain, I'm reading massive system. Failures across the entire fleet. Ships are going dark one by one. Within 2 hours, the most powerful hunter fleet in hegemony space was nothing but floating metal tombs. Hundreds of alien vessels drifted silently through space, their crews killed by their own weapon. This is incredible, Dr. Yena said, as she studied the results. The weapon was designed to be highly contagious among hegemony species. It spreads faster than they could have imagined. Navigator Kim Tae-ho was studying the fleet's databases. Captain, according to these records, this hunter fleet was supposed to return to a major hegemony base in 3 days. When they don't arrive, the hegemony will send more ships to investigate, Minho finished, and those ships will also get infected. Do-hyun and his boarding team were exploring the now empty battleship. Captain, you need to see what we found in their computer systems. This biological weapon wasn't just meant for Earth. They have plans to use it on dozens of other worlds. What kind of plans? Minho asked. Complete galactic conquest. They want to turn every intelligent species in this part of the galaxy into slaves. The weapon we just captured was going to be their primary tool. The rescued prisoners were finally beginning to understand what had happened. One of the tall blue creatures approached Do-hyun and spoke in a language that sounded like musical tones. I think it's trying to thank us, Do-hyun said. Han Ji-woo had been working to decode different alien languages. I can understand some of what it's saying. I think it's called a kale. It's telling us about its people, how they were enslaved by the hegemony generations ago. More rescued prisoners began to approach the humans. Despite the language barriers, their gratitude was clear. These beings had been prisoners for years, used as test subjects for horrible experiments. Now they were free. Captain, Soo-jin said, we have a decision to make. This battleship is incredibly powerful. With the alien crew dead, we could take control of it. Minho considered the possibilities. The battleship was 10 times larger than the Resilience had been, with weapons and technology far beyond anything Earth possessed, but it was also a symbol of hegemony oppression. What about the other ships in the fleet? He asked. Most of them are still functional. The biological weapon killed the crews, but the ships themselves are undamaged. Tae-ho looked up from his analysis. Captain, with this many ships, we wouldn't just be a small resistance group anymore. We'd be a real fleet. The implications were staggering. The crew of the Resilience had started with one damaged exploration ship. Now they potentially commanded an entire hunter fleet, complete with the most advanced weapons in hegemony space. There's something else, Dr. Yena said. The biological weapon is still active on all these ships. Any hegemony forces that board them will be infected. We've essentially created a trap that will spread throughout their empire. Ji-woo was decoding more alien transmissions. Captain, I'm intercepting communications from Hegemony Command. They're planning a major offensive against several star systems. Thousands of ships are being assembled for invasion fleets. When? Minho asked. According to these messages, the invasions begin in 6 months. They're targeting multiple worlds simultaneously, including some systems close to human space. The rescued Kyle prisoner was still trying to communicate with the humans. Through gestures and simple drawings, it was explaining something important. I think it's trying to tell us about other resistance groups, Ji-woo said. There are other species fighting the hegemony, but they're scattered and poorly equipped. Do-hyun understood immediately. Captain, if we could unite these resistance groups, we could turn this from a series of small rebellions into a real war, Minho finished. The idea was both exciting and terrifying. The crew of 60 humans could potentially become the leaders of a galactic rebellion against the hegemony. But that would mean taking on responsibilities far beyond anything they had imagined. What about Earth? Taeho asked. Shouldn't we try to warn them about the hegemony invasion plans? The message we sent should reach them eventually, Minho replied. But even if they get the warning, Earth's military isn't ready for this kind of war. They need time to prepare. Su Jin was studying the captured fleet's capabilities. Captain, these ships could give Earth that time. If we could disrupt the hegemony's invasion plans, delay their attacks, we could buy Earth months or even years to prepare, Minho realized. The rescued prisoners were beginning to organize themselves. The Kale seemed to be natural leaders, helping to coordinate the other species. Despite not sharing a common language, they were working together with remarkable efficiency. They want to help us, Dr. Yena observed. These people have been fighting the hegemony longer than we have. They know things we don't. Minho walked to the battleship's main view screen and looked out at the fleet of captured ships. Each vessel represented incredible power, but also incredible responsibility. The decisions made in the next few hours would affect the fate of entire civilizations. Ji-woo, can you contact the resistance groups that the Kyle told us about? I can try. The Hegemony Communication Network covers most of this sector. If there are other rebels out there, they might be monitoring these frequencies. Do it. Tell them that the Hunter fleet has been captured. Tell them that humans are organizing a unified resistance against the hegemony. And if they don't trust us, Do-hyun asked. Then we'll have to prove ourselves, Minho replied. One battle at a time. As Ji-woo began broadcasting on resistance frequencies, responses started coming in almost immediately. Dozens of different voices in dozens of different languages, all expressing the same emotion, hope. For the first time in generations, the oppressed peoples of the galaxy had a real chance to fight back against their alien masters. And that chance had been given to them by 60 humans who had been abandoned by their own people and left to die in the darkness of space. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin. 3 years had passed since the crew of the Resilience had been abandoned by Earth Command. Captain Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the battleship Liberation, watching as hundreds of ships moved through space in perfect formation. The small resistance movement had grown into something no one could have imagined. The fleet stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Captured hegemony vessels flew alongside ships built by a dozen different alien species. Kyle. Fighters with their blue hulls moved next to the rocky ships of the Torvan people. Small, fast vessels built by the furry Nexi darted between larger cruisers designed by the crystalline Zephyrians. Captain, Communications Officer Han Ji-woo, reported, "We're receiving the final confirmation signals. All fleet groups are in position for the attack on the hegemony staging area." Engineer Park Soo-jin looked up from her station. "All ships report ready. The modifications we made to their weapons should give us a significant advantage." The past 3 years had been a constant struggle to unite the scattered resistance movements across this sector of the galaxy. Minho and his crew had traveled from world to world, freeing enslaved populations and convincing them to join the growing rebellion. "Any word from the advance scouts?" Minho asked. Navigator Kim Tae-ho checked his displays. "The hegemony forces are exactly where our intelligence said they would be. 50 battleships preparing for the invasion of human space. Dr. Choi Yena had spent months studying the different alien species that had joined their cause. Captain, I've finished the biological analysis of the Hegemony Command Staff. The enhanced version of our weapon should be effective against all of their leadership species. The weapon that had started as a tool of enslavement had become the Yafao, key to galactic liberation. Yena had continued to improve it, making it more effective against hegemony biology while ensuring it remained harmless to their allied species. Sergeant Do-hyun, are the boarding teams ready? Minho asked. All teams are prepared, sir. We have mixed crews from 6 different species. The Kale are excellent fighters, and the Torvin are almost impossible to stop once they get moving. The plan was ambitious even by the standards they had set over the past 3 years. They were going to attack the largest hegemony staging area in this part of the galaxy, the assembly point for the invasion fleet that was meant to conquer human space. Ji-woo, any response to our transmission to Earth? Minho asked. Still waiting? Captain. The message should have reached them by now, but we're so far from human space that their reply won't arrive for another week. The message they had sent to Earth was simple. The abandoned crew of the Resilience was still alive, and they were coming home with the largest liberation fleet in galactic history. Sir, Taeho said, the hegemony staging area is just ahead. They're not expecting an attack. Their sensors show they're completely focused on preparing for the invasion. Through the main view screen, Minho could see the massive hegemony base. It was built into an asteroid field, with hundreds of alien ships docked to enormous metal platforms. This was where the hegemony had assembled their final invasion force, the fleet that would bring slavery to Earth and the remaining free worlds. All ships, this is Captain Minho, he announced over the fleet communication system. Today we strike the blow that will free our galaxy from hegemony oppression. Remember, we fight not just for our own people, but for every species that dreams of freedom. The response came back in dozens of different languages, but the meaning was clear. Warriors from across the galaxy were ready to follow the humans. Into battle. Begin the attack, Minho ordered. The Liberation Fleet emerged from hyperspace like an unstoppable force. Hundreds of ships opened fire on the hegemony staging area, their weapons enhanced by years of captured alien technology and human innovation. The hegemony forces were caught completely by surprise. They had never imagined that the scattered resistance groups could unite into such a powerful force. Their defensive systems, designed to stop individual rebel ships, were overwhelmed by the coordinated assault. Direct hit on their command station, Do-hyun reported. Hegemony forces are trying to organize a defense, but they're in complete chaos. Su-jin was monitoring the battle from her engineering station. Captain, our weapon modifications are working perfectly. Every shot we fire is 3 times more effective than standard hegemony weapons. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Ships of every conceivable design fought side by side against the forces of oppression. The Kyle used their superior speed to dart between larger vessels. The Torvin ships, built like flying mountains, smashed through hegemony. Battle lines. The crystalline Zephyrians used energy weapons that turned enemy ships into clouds of glittering dust. Boarding teams away, Do-hyun announced as dozens of small craft launched toward the largest hegemony ships. The boarding teams were mixed groups of humans and aliens working together with perfect coordination. They had learned each other's strengths and how to fight as a unified force. "Captain," Ji-woo called out urgently, "I'm intercepting a priority transmission from the Hegemony command ship. They're sending a distress signal to their home worlds." "Can you stop it?" Minho asked. "Too late. The signal is already away. The Hegemony High Command will know about this attack within hours." Dr. Yena looked up from her station. "Captain, maybe that's not a bad thing. If the hegemony leadership is panicking, they might make mistakes." Taeho was tracking the movement of enemy ships. "Sir, the hegemony forces are starting to retreat. They're abandoning the staging area." "Let them go," Minho ordered. "We want survivors to spread the word. The galaxy needs to know that the hegemony can be defeated. The liberation of the staging area took only 4 hours. When the battle ended, the largest hegemony invasion force in history had been completely destroyed. Hundreds of alien ships floated dead in space, their crews killed by the modified biological weapon. "Casualty report," Minho requested. "Minimal losses on our side," Do-hyun reported. "The hegemony forces were so unprepared that they barely managed to return fire effectively." Ji-woo was analyzing the captured communications. "Captain, this is incredible. According to the intelligence we captured, this victory has triggered rebellions on over 30 hegemony worlds. Species that have been enslaved for generations are rising up." "What about Earth?" Yena asked. "Were they able to delay the invasion?" "More than delayed," Ji-woo said with excitement. "According to these files, the Hegemony High Command has completely canceled all expansion plans. They're pulling forces back to defend their core worlds." Minho felt a wave of relief wash over him. Earth was safe, at least for now. The planet that had abandoned his crew was protected by the very people it had left to die. "Captain," Soo-jin said, "we're receiving communication requests from dozens of star systems. They want to join our liberation movement." The scope of what they had accomplished was staggering. The crew of 60 humans had sparked a galactic revolution that was spreading faster than anyone could have imagined. "Set course for Earth," Minho ordered. "It's time to go home." "Sir?" Taeho asked. "Are you sure Earth will welcome us back?" Minho looked around at his crew, these people who had followed him through 3 years of impossible battles. They were no longer the abandoned explorers who had been left to die in alien space. They were the leaders of a galactic liberation movement, the founders of the largest alliance of free peoples in known history. "I don't know if Earth will welcome us," he said honestly, "but it doesn't matter anymore. We're not coming back as the crew they abandoned. We're coming back as the liberators of the galaxy." The massive liberation fleet turned toward human space, carrying hope and freedom to a galaxy that had almost forgotten what those words meant. The Earth Defense Fleet appeared on the sensors like a wall of metal and fire. Hundreds of human warships had assembled at the edge of the solar system, their weapons trained on the approaching alien fleet. Captain Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the liberation, watching his homeworld's defenses prepare to attack him. "Captain," Communications Officer Han Ji-woo said nervously, "Earth Command is demanding that we identify ourselves." They're threatening to open fire if we don't stop our advance. Open a channel, Minho ordered. All frequencies. Make sure every ship in both fleets can hear this. The main view screen activated, showing Minho in his captain's uniform. Behind him, the bridge of the Liberation was visible with its mix of human and alien crew members working together. Earth Command. This is Captain Lee Minho of the exploration vessel Resilience. We are returning home. The response came immediately from Admiral Chen, the same man who had ordered them abandoned 3 years earlier. Captain Minho, you were declared dead. The fleet approaching Earth is composed of hostile alien vessels. Identify yourself properly, or we will fire. Minho smiled grimly. Admiral Chen, I remember you. You're the one who told us we were acceptable losses. You abandoned 60 human lives because we were too far from home to be worth saving. The communication channel went silent for a long moment. Then Admiral Chen's voice returned, less confident than before. Captain, if you are who you claim to be, explain how you survived. And explain why you're approaching Earth with an alien armada. Engineer Park Soo-jin stepped up beside Minho. Admiral, this is Engineer Park Soo-jin. We survived because we learned to fight. We built this fleet from captured enemy ships and liberated worlds. We are returning as the leaders of the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Galactic Liberation Alliance? Admiral Chen asked with disbelief. Navigator Kim Tae-ho joined them at the communication station. Admiral, the hegemony was planning to invade human space with a force of over 10,000 ships. We stopped them. Earth is safe because of what we accomplished out here. Dr. Choi Yana added her voice to the conversation. The biological weapon they created to enslave humanity has been turned against them. We have freed dozens of worlds and broken the power of their empire. Sergeant Yoon Do-hyun stepped forward. Admiral, we didn't come here to conquer Earth. We came here to protect it. Admiral Chen's voice was shaking now. This is impossible. 60 people couldn't have accomplished what you're describing. You're right, Minho said calmly. 60 people couldn't have done this alone. But 60 people who refused to give up could inspire thousands of others to fight for freedom. That's exactly what we did. The Earth Defense Fleet was still maintaining its defensive positions, but Minho could see uncertainty in their formations. The admirals and generals of Earth Command were trying to understand how their abandoned crew had returned with the most powerful fleet ever assembled. Prove it, Admiral Chen demanded. Prove you are who you say you are. Ji-woo activated a data transmission. Admiral, we're sending you 3 years of mission logs, battle records, and intelligence data on the Hegemony Empire. You'll find detailed information about their military capabilities, their invasion plans, and the worlds they've enslaved. The transmission included everything the crew had learned during their time in alien space. Technologies that could advance human civilization by centuries, medical knowledge that could save millions of lives, and most importantly, proof that humanity was not alone in wanting freedom from oppression. While Earth Command studied the transmitted data, the Liberation Fleet waited patiently at the edge of the solar system. Ships from dozens of different worlds held their positions, their crews watching the human homeworld with curiosity and hope. Captain, Tejo said quietly, some of the Earth ships are powering down their weapons. They're starting to believe us, Sujin observed. The wait continued for 2 hours, while Earth Command analyzed the incredible amount of information they had received. Finally, Admiral Chen's voice returned to the communication channel. Captain, Minho, the data you've provided is extraordinary. Our scientists confirm that the technologies and intelligence you've gathered could not have been fabricated. Does that mean you believe us? Minho asked. It means Earth Command has some very serious questions to answer, Admiral Chen replied, and some very serious apologies to make. The Earth Defense Fleet began to move aside, creating a corridor for the Liberation Fleet to approach Earth. As they drew closer to their homeworld, the crew of the former Resilience could see the blue and green planet they had left 4 years earlier. It's beautiful, Dr. Yana said softly. I had almost forgotten how beautiful it looks from space. Captain, Jiwoo announced, we're receiving communication requests from governments all over. Earth, everyone wants to speak with us. Tell them we'll address the entire planet, Minho decided. This message is too important for private meetings. The Liberation Fleet took up positions around Earth while Minho prepared to address his home planet. This would be the most important speech of his life, explaining to humanity what had happened to their abandoned crew and what it meant for the future. People of Earth, Minho began, his voice being broadcast to every nation on the planet. 3 years ago, Earth Command declared the crew of the Resilience dead and left us to die in alien space. Today, we return not as the explorers you abandoned, but as the leaders of a galactic alliance dedicated to freedom. He gestured toward the view screen, which showed the massive Liberation Fleet surrounding Earth. These ships represent dozens of worlds that have thrown off the chains of oppression. Species that had been enslaved for centuries have joined together to fight for the freedom of all intelligent life. The response from Earth was immediate. Communication channels lit up with messages from every continent. Some were expressions of amazement and gratitude. Others were angry demands for explanations from Earth Command. We did not return for revenge, Minho continued. We returned because Earth is part of the galaxy, and the galaxy deserves to be free. The technologies we have learned, the alliances we have formed, and the victories we have won belong to all humanity. Admiral Chen's voice interrupted the broadcast. Captain Minho, Earth Command would like to offer you and your crew full pardons and restoration to active duty. Minho's response surprised everyone listening. Admiral Chen, with respect, we no longer serve Earth Command. We serve something greater. We serve the cause of freedom for all sentient beings in the galaxy. What does that mean? Admiral Chen asked. It means the galaxy has changed and Earth must change with it. The age of isolated worlds and competing empires is over. The future belongs to cooperation between all intelligent species. Du Hyun stepped forward. Admiral, we're offering Earth the chance to join the Galactic Liberation Alliance as an equal partner with dozens of other worlds, Su Jin added. The technologies we've captured can advance human civilization by centuries. Medical advances, energy systems, faster-than-light travel methods you've never imagined. What do you want in return? Admiral Chen asked suspiciously. We want Earth to join the fight for galactic freedom, Minho said simply. There are still worlds under hegemony control, still species that need liberation. The war is far from over. The crew that had been abandoned as acceptable losses had returned, offering their homeworld a chance to lead the galaxy toward a better future. Earth would never be the same again. The choice is yours, Minho concluded. You can remain an isolated world, or you can join us in building a galaxy where all intelligent life can live in freedom. As he ended the transmission, Minho looked around at his crew. They had started as 60 abandoned humans. They had become the founders of Galactics, freedom, and their greatest adventure was just beginning.